Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light, regardless of whether or not you drink this beer style, you're probably already pretty familiar with it. Hi, I'm Emily, and today we're going to talk about American Light Lagers. The topic of light beer tends to evoke some pretty strong responses from beer drinkers. But regardless of how you feel about it, you really can't deny the impact that it's had on brewing as we know it today. But before we get into all of that fun history that I like to talk about, first let's go over what exactly makes a beer an American light lager. The appearance of the beer should be a light straw color with a weak but very frothy head, and it should be extremely clear. The flavor is generally considered overall balanced, because there shouldn't be any really outstanding hop or malt or yeast characteristics. It should all be very smooth and crisp. There could possibly be some detectable flavors and aromas, but they should be very, very mild. The mouthfeel, unsurprisingly, is going to be very watery and very light, but it should have extreme levels of carbonation. The alcohol content should range from about 2.8 to 4.2%. And what's interesting about this beer style, this light lager, is that unlike other beer styles, it's not really meant to be served in a glass. You're supposed to just drink it ice cold straight out of the bottle or can, whatever the case may be. The Beer Judge Certification Program even makes note within its American Light Lager style parameters that it is designed to appeal to as broad a range of the public as possible. Strong flavors are a fault. And that's kind of the whole point. Light beer isn't made to be reviewed by some snobby certified beer server on her YouTube channel. It's made to be easily enjoyed by the non-discerning drinker. Which is totally fine, but how did this happen? Well, to answer that question, we have to go back to New York in the 1960s. There was a biochemist named Joseph Owades who specialized in yeast. He discovered a way to manipulate the brewer's yeast to reduce the amount of carbs and calories in the final beer product. In 1967, the brewery that Owades was working for released the first ever light lager, which they named Gaeblinger's Diet Beer, and it failed. No one bought it. The beer had been created for and marketed toward women so that they could drink with the boys while still watching their girlish figure. And for some strange reason, that didn't work. So, Owades gave the recipe for light beer to a different brewery, which was then bought by a group of investors, which then ran into financial problems and was bought by Miller. What was Miller going to do with this crappy, unsellable beer? Well, it's worth noting that Miller was owned by parent company Philip Morris, the same company which rebranded Marlboro cigarettes from being a women's cigarette to being the big cowboy macho cigarette. And in 1973, they did the same thing with Miller Lite. They took this diet beer and changed it into the more masculine light beer, and they ran this huge ad campaign with a bunch of professional sports athletes, and this time, it worked. Other breweries saw the success of Miller and they decided to jump on the bandwagon and start brewing their own light beer. The most notorious of these brands is probably Bud Light, which has been the #1 selling beer in America for over a decade now. With all of the ad campaigns being run for light beer, it's kind of hard to appreciate it the way we might if it was in the realm of other craft beers. But instead, it just has this association of mass production and big brewing. If you haven't already been able to gather from this video, I personally am not really a fan of light lagers. I don't enjoy the taste of them. I'd rather have a beer that's a little more flavorful, even if it adds a few inches to my waistline. But even still, there's no denying the impact that they've had on brewing and also on the larger public perception of beer. It's fine. It's not bad, it's just not good either. So if you had to drink an American light lager, which brand would you go with? Or do you refuse to answer the question because you think the world would just be better off if they never existed in the first place? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, do that whole YouTube dance for me. And yeah, bye-bye, lovelies.